Okay, I'm going to call this training infinite motion. And the reason I'm calling that is because we're going to be drawing sort of a little figure 8, which is the symbol for infinity. And that just seems fun to use that name, right? So, continuous motion, fluid motion, one motion, infinite motion, whatever you want to call it. Here's what we're going to do. I'm going to demonstrate, well, let me demonstrate maybe from the side here. So, I've got this ball here. We're going to be going, so we're just creating this little figure 8 pattern in our swing. Instead of having this thing that is flat on plane and drops, we're going to create a little pattern here. So, we're going to go that way and that way, 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 that way. So that's the pattern. And it's a subtle pattern. It won't be that happen that much in your swing. It will be a subtle version of that. It's just a feeling of going a little over the top on the backswing and then coming in under that. So you're just coming in under and then a little toward the outside and then you're turning it around. So I'll show you from the front the feeling. And again, this is more extreme than you would do with a club, and also with the club, when you get to a club, you're going to do here and then finish your motion. So there, one motion like that. So that's the basic pattern. And now I'm going to give you another thing to try. So what's happening in that pattern is essentially you're moving, if you imagine this being the club head and now it's free, you're moving the club head this way through space. So you're creating a circular motion with the club head. So you can see if I take this, if I took this and swung it back and through, I would do this, right? It would hinge and release, hinge and release, and that does create a sense of timing because you have to wait for it to terminate and then you go, terminate and go. So if you're swinging with that pattern, this is still kind of an interesting type of device to use, but I'm suggesting trying something sort of next level, which is to make this be always trailing your hands. So it will be like this. There's your movement. And what you want to feel is there's no action happening in there. You're just continually pulling this through. And you want to feel the pull through the ball here. So you want to feel that it goes under tension and now you're pulling it. So you're feeling the release essentially through the ball. So that's your pattern, and then do it with two hands to get a feeling for it too. So again, remember it's going around this way. Just like that. You might notice there's, now that I'm showing you this, you'll go back and see it in swing. So Jack Nicklaus goes that way. And then goes, or a throwing motion, a good throwing motion, goes that way and through. So all those, that's all the same motion. It's one continuous circular motion that you're taking through. So now, think of this as being, picture this now, say this part is rope now, and how am I going to move it as if it's rope, instead of moving it as something that I can lever, move it as if it's a piece of rope. You'll get the feeling for it. So let's see how I do. Nice. So one fluid motion all the way through, turn around, all the way through, and keep your mind on the club head. The hands, the purpose of the hands is to tell you where this is in space. So hang on and tell you where this is in space at all times. So the advantage of keeping intention is that it keeps the information flowing, right? So if I go to a place where there's no of nothingness, then there's no information happening. So that's why that transition becomes a confusing place where you may lose contact basically with the club head. So stay in contact with the club head the whole way. Keep your mind on the club head and just move it through the ball. Okay, interesting. So I did the swing well, and I stood in the wrong place. So when this happens to you, don't adjust your swing, adjust your location. So most of the time, that's a better swing, and you're used to throwing the club head, so now you're too far away. So get a little closer, but now same focus. And that one was much better. So there you go.